for Shane Warne. And he's done it.
We would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the lands on which we meet today and pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. We extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people listening in.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode number 13 of Aussies Abroad, the show where we showcase Aussies kicking ass on the world stage every single day. Big thank you to each and every one of you who have taken time out of your day or out of your weeks to watch our show. We're at episode number 13 right now, and it's very nice to have you all back here. Now, let me go around the room and introduce my two co-hosts tonight. Mr. Bo Hayden, how was your final week in lockdown been in Canberra? Only 2 more days, mate, and we are out.
Yeah, great week for me, actually. On the personal side, I think we've touched on it a few episodes. I've been out of a job there for a week or two, got a new job, so that's exciting. I'm nervous, I'm excited. It's going to be a good job, so I'm so keen to get that started. Also, I have a little bit of an opportunity. I got some of the boys, some of my mates that do tune into this pod, and they give a bit of feedback. So shout out to the guys that are watching there and letting me know good and bad what we're doing. And they've done a really good job of it. So for me, great week, to be honest. And like I said, I've got this little bit of moment. So shout out to the boys that are watching, have contributed and sent some messages back about what we're doing great, what they like, and some things where we can improve. And I hope we continue to do that, man. It's been a good week.
Righto, Ness, 48 hours in Canberra is coming out of lockdown. What are you doing on Friday? The first thing you're doing.
Probably working. It's not going to change too. I'm going to get to a pub of some sort. I don't know where or how, but there will be beers consumed. And I really just want a schnitty. Like, I just can't wait. I'm trying to get them, but yeah, I'm going to send it on a schnitty. A few things. Bo, congrats. A great effort on the job. That's awesome. Spinks, you had a birthday through the week, so happy birthday.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
While I've got a minute too, I just want to say thanks to everyone. I've got a few really good friends and some family that tune in every week, and they do the same. And I've got a nephew turning 18 on Friday. So I'm officially feeling really old. And I hate COVID because I would so be there helping him celebrate. So it's going to be a delayed birthday. But yeah, to Luke, happy birthday. I cannot wait to legally drink with you. Of course, we've never done it illegally.
Never.
And go to go and get a scratchy and all those cool things at 18. So
happy birthday to Luke.
Big shout out to Luke for his 18th birthday on Friday. That'll be great.
How was your week, Quincy? We never get to discuss your week. How was your week?
My week was good. I actually I worked in the rain at work for about the first 4 hours this morning, which was horrible, thinking I was going home early, and then the rain stopped and I continued to work all day. So I was wet and I was dirty and I was cold. So let's not talk about that.
What's that shit to you then, I guess?
It does, yes. But I'm very much looking forward to my staycation here in Canberra this weekend. I'm staying in a very nice hotel on Friday and Saturday night, and we booked heaps of pubs to go to over the weekend. And I'm finally going to get this haircut taken care of, because what's happening under this hat,
I'm so jealous.
It's bad, man. It's so, look at it. It's bad, man. Look at it. It's horrible. It's just so much hair, man.
We're all suffering.
We need a sponsorship here so bad.
Yes, we need a barber to come on the show and sort us out. Yeah. Very nice. All right, guys, let's talk about the news of the week. Yeah. Very nice. All right, guys, let's talk about the news of the week. The first article we have is the T20 World Cup kicks off this week. Now, all the big teams won't come until next week. All the smaller teams are there. this week. There's a bit of a round robin tournament, and I think the top 2 or 3 go through to play the bigger teams like Australia and Pakistan and India. From what I hear, the pitches in the UAE are going to be very slow. They've had the IPL tournament over there the last couple of weeks, and they're using the same pitches they were there. So what's usually a slower pitch will certainly help the spinners. So from what I can gather, Australia, the West Indies, Pakistan, and India are the teams to beat this year. So let's hope the Aussies have a bit of a good run throughout it. But back home here in Australia, the Aussies have beaten India in the Test match, the one days, and the ODIs as a whole. I think Australia won 11-5. If that's right, I'm not sure, but I think that was the final score. And the WBBL kicks off this week. Now, Ness, I know you have an interest in the WBBL, as we all do, but you've got a bit of a connection to that too.
I do. I'll touch on it a bit later, but yes, my beloved housemate is playing in the WBBL, and a lot of the local girls as well. So huge shout out to all of them, and I hope they go well and do the ACT proud. It kicks off tomorrow at 7:30 our time, so make sure you tune in. I think that competition keeps getting stronger and stronger, so really look forward to how that goes this year. If
we need a team to support this year, who should that team be?
Oh, I mean, if you look at the Sixers, I was just looking at the team lists this afternoon. The Sixers are so stacked. They've got pretty much got the Australian team in there. They've got some of the local girls as well, a couple of them. So, you know, the Meteors captain is in the squad. It's sort of hard to see them not winning. And I think Thunder will probably do pretty well as well. So we'll see how that goes. But I think it will be a ripping competition. They're all based down in Hobart for the first section, and then hopefully progressing up north. So let's hope Anastasia opens the borders so I can go and watch some cricket and get my 10 on.
Very nice. Right. Let's turn our attention to the NFL right now, which is one of my favorite sports of all time. There's an Aussie punter with the San Francisco 49ers named Mitch Wishnowsky. Now, Wishnowsky was drafted in the 3rd round by the 49ers a year or two back, and Wishnowsky became the first Aussie to score anything in the NFL. He took a conversion after a touchdown to score a single point for his team last weekend. We actually missed it on the show last week, but I know for Aussies out there who usually punt the football downfield, you don't often get to score. So for an Aussie to actually score, mate, what does this mean for Aussies going forward? Does it mean that we can actually finally have someone take field goals for us? And we sort of touched on this earlier in the show. Can they reduce the amount of talent they have on the field and use him for other things?
Yeah, I'll chip in there, which is something which it's not anything that's talked about, which is it seems so obsolete, I guess, where your roster spot is such a valuable position in the NFL because they got 53 guys they can have on their team at the time, but I think it's only 43, 45 maybe they can dress and be ready to play. So that seems like a lot. So for guys or girls, for people that don't understand the NFL, is you've got 11 people that play offense, 11 that play defense, and it's essentially another 11 that play special teams, which is your kick, your punt, that kind of stuff. So if you can dress one person that can kick and punt, so that's kick the ball away on 4th down, which is what we all know as imagine a 5th tackle kick in rugby league, right? You just got to kick the ball away and get field position. If you can get that one guy that can then kick the ball away on 4th down, so in rugby league terms, for guys that don't understand, it's 5th tackle in the NRL, you got to kick the ball away. If you've got a guy that can kick the ball away and then a guy that can convert, if you keep that guy on the roster as one person, it's such a, that is super critical as far as digging down into when you really dig down. It's if you can get a guy that can do both, it's a massive advantage. As a Colts supporter, I just had my kicker get injured last week, and my punter came on the field to try and kick a field goal. He missed a field goal. So if you've got a guy that can do both, crucial. And then there's always injuries. And as soon as we see an Aussie do something like that, which is unheard of in a massive, massive sport where there's guys that train the whole life to do one certain thing and just be super good at it. And that's kind of where you go with kicking and punting. There's so much analytics. You are just a number, basically. And if he can fill two roles around being a number, then kudos to him. And I hope that's the way football moves forward. So super exciting for not only NFL fans, but for us Australians. He's got a chance to do something what we haven't seen in the NFL, and he's killing it punting as well. His numbers are outrageous. So he's doing an amazing job of just his own job. And then when you add to the fact he's also doing two people's job now, if you're going to add that to his resume, massive for San Francisco. And it's going to be, as a nerd, the general fan will just be like, it doesn't matter. But as a football nerd, this is massive. And if he can do both of those well, it's an exciting time for football and for Australians.
Bo, is it like there's just so specialist in terms of their positions? Is that kind of the premise of NFL, is like there's just complete specialist positions and they don't really cross over, so you don't have someone that's, like a kicker and
exactly. You've nailed it. You have nailed it. There's people that train their whole lives from when they're a child, like literally I'm talking like 7 years old. And this isn't just like the quarterback position. This is like just a general position of like whether you're playing any position against a field, you're trained to do one thing and one thing only. And that's why it's such an elite sport, because they are literally so special at what they do. And then when you get a guy that can do two things, and it's so rare, that it creates a competitive advantage. And that's why it's really, really cool for nerds. Again, only for nerds. It's really, really cool.
That's a way.
General fan, I don't give a shit about the punter or the kicker, but it does create a really, really
like if they find more people that can do multiple things, right? That changes the complete dynamic of that game.
Yes,
exactly right.
And you can add more guys. Yeah.
As far as a netball sense, imagine if you got a shooter and someone that can play in the defense that is very good at doing both things.
Yeah.
Although you can't do them both at the same time, obviously in netball you can't. But if you've got a player that can do both, it changes the way you can attack, and the strategy behind all sports. And sports is analytic right now. It's very focused on analytics. So you got someone that can do two jobs. It can change so much. So
I fully understand the football nerd thing. I interviewed a long snapper from from Oklahoma State a couple of years back for another show, and we spoke for about half an hour about how you long snap the football instead of your short snap, and I was fascinated, and no one cared at all. And I was like, "This is the greatest dude ever!" Like you snap the ball backwards like that far and not that far, and they're like, "Who cares?" And I'm like, "This is great! I love it."
Yeah, and it's only the nerds that understand that.
Exactly.
And
yes.
guys who don't understand, the long snapper, your job is to snap the ball, like you just throw the ball back 7 yards. That's all you're going to do. Yeah. Throw the ball back 7 yards, and then the guys behind you convert.
Then kick the ball.
Occasionally, you got to get run down to make a tackle.
I was fascinated by that. All right, and let's stick with the NFL now. And Josh is going to throw up a video on the screen for us right now. We're going to talk about Michael Dixon, the punter from Seattle Seahawks, my most hated NFL team. However, Dixon did a wonderful thing on the weekend. He went to punt the football, and it was blocked. And as he's going to kick the football, hands have come up. They've stopped the football. He's then chased the football to his left, picked it up, and kicked the football about 65 yards downfield. It's very rare that this happens, and I think Dixon at the time was unsure if this was actually allowed to happen, but it's happened, and they made this incredible move downfield rather than being stuck in their own end. And the media in the US went off. And Dixon has been such a a polarized character over the last 4 or 5 seasons, and they love him over there, and he will continue to thrive if he keeps doing wonderful things like this. So big shout out to Michael Dixon. We got you.
I'll touch on that here if I can.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to focus so much about this on the NFL. So firstly, shout out to Michael Dixon for having a mullet in the NFL. Have you seen his haircut?
I know, it's great, eh? It's so good.
It's totally disgusting. But also, he's broken the rules. You're actually not allowed to do it.
Yeah.
So that went by, and it just wasn't reviewed or discussed.
Yeah.
But the most amazing thing, as far as what you've said, is in the NFL, if a punt's blocked, the punter, as always, is just taught, dive on the football. Don't let the defense get that ball and move it forward. That's rule number 1 if you're a punter.
And 2 and 3. Nope. Yeah.
And then if you watch the clip, which we probably can't get up, but if you watch a clip, I'm sure if you guys just YouTube it or Google it,
we'll get it up.
You'll
be there. Yeah.
The ball sits up and he picks it up one-handed like an absolute premium athlete, picks it up and then kicks it again 65 yards down the field. It's
so good.
Super impressive what he did. Helped this team. Good on the bloke with his dirty haircut, but he looks good doing it.
All right, now Ness, I know you set up last night and watched it. I caught the very end of it. The Socceroos went down 2-1. They won against Oman on Thursday night. We touched on this last week. The Socceroos went down to Japan last night, 2-1. We're now second in the group of 5. Top 2 automatically go through. We spoke about there being some big games coming up, and there'll be continue to be big games. They went down 1-0 early, and then Aziz Bajic from who used to be with the Western Sydney the Wanderers, he let in an own goal in about the 80th minute. He pretty much had a pretty terrible game. The game sort of didn't flow the way it should have, and to win 11 games straight and then get beaten the way we did was not very nice.
Yeah, a few things. We really struggle winning over in Japan, and so there's that. I think that there's a bit of a hoodoo around that, and certainly winning 11 games on the trot is crazy. But we can probably all agree with the Socceroos. They have to be one of the most stressful teams to watch.
Yes.
You know, they just, I don't know what it is about the Socceroos, but it gets my absolute blood pressure boiling. And I've, grown up watching them in an Italian family full of Italian crazy soccer fans. But I think I said it to you last night, Spinks. There was just no connection. We were just 1 or 2 seconds behind the play, and the Japanese would just get on a run. And they got that early goal, and we conceded that own goal, which wasn't great. Matt Ryan, though, pulled out about 5 critical saves. Like, that game really should have been 5 or 6-1. So credit to him. He's amazing, and he's never allowed to retire because he's just amazing.
How old is Matt Ryan? I remember watching him in Canberra. He not playing for Canberra.
No, he played for Australia here. The last game we had here in Canberra was Australia and Ethiopia or something. That one. Yeah. And Matt Ryan was there. This is probably like 6 or 7 years back now. But look, I turned 37 on Monday. I look 57 because of the Socceroos. I haven't missed a game in years. The reason I look this old is because
I say 67, to be honest. 57's been kind of polite. You use a bad moisturizer. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Well, there's outside of it.
The VAR, they awarded a penalty to Australia, and then they reviewed the VAR, and literally the Aussies about to step up and take the pen, and the ref blows the whistle to say, actually, we've reviewed the VAR and now it's just a free kick. We scored off it, and it was a pearler of a goal. But VAR is just, it is a nonsense system, and it just does not work, and it completely breaks any flow of the game as well. Yeah, I think they need to really look at that.
It's hard.
For the guys that didn't see, what happened on that VAR?
So he got taken down right outside the penalty box. The argument was whether the infringement actually caused him to go over is it the 18-yard box? Is that what it is? Yeah. And so, so that was the thing. And the VAR determined that he'd actually got taken down. For me, I actually don't think it was a penalty at all. I think he got the ball, and the Japanese defender was quite clear in my eyes. So I actually don't think it was a penalty anyway. The ref awards a penalty straight away. Then the VAR reviews. We get a free kick. We score off it. It turned out to be a great outcome for Australia. But yeah, it was. There's just such a delay in that decision making. You know.
And look, they've got another 2 games coming up before the end of the year. I think we play Saudi Arabia in November, and there's another game before Christmas, and then a couple of big ties to start off next year. But at the moment, they're in a good position, so hopefully they'll keep winning those games and keep beating those teams under us, because even though we're sitting second in the group, we're still ahead of 3rd place and 4th place. So big shout out to the Socceroos. We'll keep you guys posted every single week, I'm sure. Now, one of our favorite topics on this show for about the last month has been Ben Simmons. Let me enlighten you on something that I found out yesterday. Ben Simmons has returned to Philadelphia. That is right. Of all 32 odd teams in the NBA, I would have never thought that Ben Simmons would return to Philly. He had his first COVID test yesterday morning. He'll have his second COVID test tomorrow, I think, and then we'll be allowed to train with the team. Now, mate, I know you've been following this for a long time. Did you think Ben Simmons would actually turn up to Philly, or he would get traded to some team in Canada?
Man, I hoped he'd get traded beforehand. It's a good thing, I guess, for him showing up. Personally, none of us know at the moment. It's all who knows what's going to happen. But him showing up is probably a positive thing for him. At least it shows he has a determination. He wants to play. He wants to get better. It's very, very clear that Philadelphia don't want him there, though. So I think there's probably mutual agreement about, show up, play some ball. We'll help you, you help us kind of thing. But I would be shocked if he's playing for Philadelphia. I mean, when do we kick off? We kick off in the next...
the 20th of October, which is Wednesday next week, is the first games. They're just finishing up the Summer League right now. What I want to ask you guys is, he slandered the coach. He slandered a few of his teammates. A few of his teammates have come out the last week or two and said, look, Ben Simmons was the bad issues that we're having with our team. He can't shoot. If he doesn't want to be here, he needs to go. All of a sudden, he's back there. Can we get a ticket to be in the room when he first turns up and explains himself? Like, I need to be there, because I've done some bad things in my time, and I've had to explain myself, but nothing that bad. Like, how do you guys go about having to explain? Sorry, I'm an asshole, and I want to come back. Like, that's not enough. Help me understand.
I think at that level, everyone on the roster, and that's including players, coaches, understands that it is a business. And I think they will have kind of an understanding of, this is what Ben wants, this is his feelings, this is what we want, this is our feelings. And I think there will be a mutual. I don't think it's going to be that like a diabolical situation. I think they all understand what they want, and I think it's pretty clear Philadelphia has decided that they don't want Ben. They're going to go with Embiid. That's essentially where this all comes down to, is you got 2 superstars. Who's going to be the superstar? So I think it's fine. I think they will all be professionals about it. Yes, they will have their own opinions of each other, and that is completely fair. But I think it's coming in, and I fully think that they're going to support him. They're going to try and get him to where he needs to go. They're not going to be hard about it. And if he needs to play a few games before he gets traded, then he does. I assume they'll help him out on that. They'll let him just play his role. He's going to help them win, which is what they all, no matter what the circumstances. In sport, people don't get along.
No.
That's a known thing, right? So it's like, we don't see eye to eye, we don't like each other, but the main thing is always win. So we'll help you, you help us, win a few games, get the season underway. Yes, we'll ship you off. But I don't think it's going to be that big a distraction for me personally. If it does break out into a distraction, then shit's going to get kind of wild. It's going to be ugly for both Ben and the Sixers. But he's a wanted guy. He's a talent. He's best friends with LeBron. So whenever you got LeBron on your side, geez, your career's not going to fall apart. And imagine if the Lakers get him for peanuts. Like nothing goes the right way. I hate the Lakers. I hate
No,
LeBron.
you do not. You love the Lakers like I
As
do.
a Chicago
You're a
fan,
liar.
as a
You're a
Chicago
liar.
fan,
Don't listen to him, folks. He's a liar.
I hate him, but I also respect him. He's a great player. If you've got someone that is, you get Ben Simmons on your side that will listen to what you want. And that's what I hate about him the most is this is what I want, not this is what's good for the team. But you get Ben Simmons to the Lakers right now, that team old but stacked. So I think all parties will be fine, man.
There's a couple of things I want to unpack here. And next week we've got a Lakers reporter coming on the show, and we'll have a full season a preview next week, and I'm sure we'll talk about the Lakers heaps. And yes, they will win the comp because they have purchased a team, and I don't care at all. That's just how it is. I've always been a fan, and now you guys can argue with me over this, but if you sign a contract, you sign the contract, and that's what you do. If it's 2, 3, 4 years, whatever it is, that's what you do. So many times over here, the Raiders purchase a guy from England, and after a season, he's like, "Oh, I'm homesick." It's not that you're homesick; it's that you're shit. You've come over here and you've played trash, and all of a sudden you're like, "I'm homesick," or "Go home." No. You sign the contract. You do your 2, your 3, your 4 years. Ben Simmons has 4 years left on his $190 million contract, whatever it is, and they find him $1 million because he was late. You sign your contract. I'm a man of my word. Don't ask everyone, but yeah, mostly I am, okay? So if you sign your contract, that's what you should do. And I can't understand how these guys are like, "Oh, I'm going to hold out to get something else." Ben Simmons held out to get something else and found out there was nothing else out there. And all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, I better go back." You know why? Because you had no other options.
I'm a little bit, I must say, like, and I completely, you guys argued about this a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
I get where Bo's coming from too. Like, sport is a business and you chase better opportunities and what have you. But I'll be Switzerland on this because I do think that if you sign a contract and you kind of have to, well, I think you should honor it. And nothing in life is sort of, all rosy. Sometimes you have to work for it a bit harder. And I think some of those contracts get terminated by the player because it gets a bit hard and they're so used to just being spoon-fed. And so they're like, "Oh, it's all a bit hard. I'm just walking away from this situation," because the grass is greener on that side. And I don't think they've got the will to work through the problem.
Look, I totally understand if you sign I totally understand if you sign for 3 years and all of a sudden your coach comes in and it's John Gruden. That's fine. I get that. Then leave. That's fine. But anyone else, then stay. Stick it out. Sorry, Bo. Carry on.
No, I think for the first time in this entire pod, I'm going out by myself here because I disagree. Like, I disagree strongly with both of you guys there, where if you're an athlete, first things first is look after yourself. And that is a shitty attitude. I get it. But a contract means less than the paper it's written up on these days, where maybe you have signed this 5-year, $100 million deal. And we can go so into specifics about this because that's kind of what I do, I guess, in my profession. And what I like is contracts and contract management. So if you have a 5-year contract, which is worth $100 million, that sounds really good for people that are like, 5-year, $100 million. In sport, that's not always the way. You might have 5 years, 100 million, but 75 million of that 100 is the back end of your contract. Where, okay, in your last 2 years, you're going to earn your 75. And even if it's not, just imagine it's 2020 through all the 5 years, you still got to look after yourself. And the owners are going to always get rid of you. If they don't like, if you can't give them money, if you can't produce, if you can't give them wins, They don't care about you. In sport, the owner doesn't, it's just sport. The owner doesn't care about you as a person. They care about you until you can stop producing for them. So therefore, if you're unhappy, it doesn't matter if you sign a contract, if you're set to earn a lot of money. If you're unhappy, you need to treat them like they would treat you. If, like I said, if they'll get rid of you if you can't help them. The player also is starting to get this ability to, if the owner can't help you, then he'll move on too. And it's really interesting in sport right now. And the NBA is kind of leading that, where the NFL is adjusting as well, where it is kind of the player has more of a authority, I suppose. And the NBA has led that. They've been the first to be like, nope, we'll give the players what they want. It's moved into the NFL where it's like, my contract is guaranteed money.
Yeah, guaranteed money. That's it. Yeah.
Previously, it was only a couple of years ago where imagine you signed a 2 year, you signed a 2 year, $50 million contract.
Yeah.
The contract now is, no matter what happens, X, Y, or Z, I get my 50 million.
Yeah, exactly.
After 1 year, if you want to ship me off, you owe me the rest of the money. And that's kind of where sport's going at the moment. So if it keeps trending that way, then we might see this thing, what's happening with Ben Simmons, what's like, we don't kind of agree where you're going, but we now owe you this much money. We understand you're a good player. It's better for everyone if we just stay.
Yeah.
And that's why I'll take the side of the player every time, because as much as I'm saying we're trending towards one direction, we're still not in that. You can sign a 5 year, $100 million deal, but if you get cut after year one, okay, maybe you're guaranteed 20 million.
Yeah.
A lot of money, don't get me wrong.
But it's not much, the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but your career might be done now. So you thought you're getting 100 million, you get 20 million, you're going to live a lovely life. But I think money doesn't really mean that much to them where they want to keep playing. So get your money where you can.
I reckon you're right. And I think this is the difference between sports like NBA and the NFL. Like when I compare it to netball, which, isn't a sport that has all of these millions, right? I think that I'm linked to the loyalty because a lot of those players come through the ranks and the junior programs, and it's, that grassroots, and that, those states develop those players. We're seeing in the netball at the moment for the first time that players are sort of deflecting from where they've grown up and where they've played their junior netball, and now they're going, players from WA are now playing in Brisbane, and Brisbane players are moving down to Victoria. That's never really happened, and it's probably not sitting well with me because that's a sport I've been known to, and we're not talking millions. It's sort of been around that community grassroots sort of development. So I can completely understand when we're, talking the multi-million-dollar contracts, how that works. And I think that's the product, right? Like the players are the product. So if the players are not happy, the product fails and the sport fails, and broadcast and all those things linked fail. So
it's same principle though. It's like, okay, if netball was the biggest sport in the planet, then these guys and girls would be getting that much more money. It's exactly the same principle. It's only we're dealing with bigger amount of funds because more people are watching. It's a more world-renowned sport.
Yeah.
If netball was the world sport, then all the players would be getting multi-millions, and we'd be still crossing this same thing of, okay, I'm looking after myself. It doesn't matter. And I'm really, really strong on that as the player is, you got to look after yourself right now. It doesn't matter how much you love the team. I've loved teams that I've been a part of. And
speaking about that, I watched a young man who played quarterback for a rubbish team here in town for a long time. 2 or 3 years, this team was really bad, and he was solid, and they kept getting beaten by the same team every single time they turned up. And you cannot tell me that he didn't get offers from this good a team to be with them rather than stay loyal to the team he was with. And you know what happened? That man stayed loyal to that team, and you know what? They went on to win championships.
What a good bloke.
What a good bloke. You know what?
I don't know.
Stay loyal to your
I don't know
team.
who we're talking about.
He was getting
Stay loyal to your team. That's what I'm saying,
getting-
folks. Stay loyal to your team.
Exposed
No
shout.
idea who that's about.
No idea at all. Righto. It's time for the good. It's time for the good, bad, and ugly. Ness, you get to go first this week. What do you got for us?
All right. Well, we've talked a little bit about cricket. So, and we have touched on the WBBL starting this week. So kudos to the girls for finally getting a season underway. It has been a super long couple of seasons for them with COVID presenting the challenges that it has for every sport. The ACA, so their Players Association, and CA today, or I think yesterday, announced player increase payments, which is fantastic. So, so the WBBL and the WNCL competitions, both of players that are contracted to those competitions are eligible now for pay increases, which is just awesome. We spoke a few weeks ago about netball leading the way, and cricket have certainly paved the way in terms of the pay parity debate. So a really good outcome for the women cricketers. On women cricketers, and this is the nicest I'm ever going to be to this girl, so she should probably do an episode.
Hey,
You started that.
Nice. I've got her keys. She can't get back. My housemate Zoe Cook is she's been playing elite cricket for 10 years. She's a local Yass girl and has played all of her cricket. Yeah, well, we kind of have to own them.
Okay,
my lady's from Yass, so
no,
they're deaf related.
Yeah. Sorry, babe. You're in trouble now.
Oh, she just chimed in after I said that.
Climbed the ranks, and she made the Meteors when she was quite young and was dropped, fought her way back and suffered a serious back injury. She had surgery a year ago and was told, you need to look for another career. I don't think cricket's going to be something that you can continue. So I single-handedly watched her in pain every day of her life, like the daily struggle that she went through. To see her back in the Meteors, to see her back at Phillip Oval and taking a wicket in her first game back, to see her get a contract for the WBBL in playing for the Brisbane Heat this year is just such an achievement. I see every day how hard she works because I compare it to how hard I don't work. I've gone down to the net to help her, to throw downs and
is it the throwing that you were doing with her that helped her? I've seen the videos. Yes, it was good.
Of course it was.
Yeah, of course it was.
My form in the pool shop, clearly all me.
Nice.
God, I taught her nothing about cricket except for that you should do it eating cheese and drinking wine. That's how you do cricket. I'll stick to organising it. But I wish her all the very best. Like, she really deserves this opportunity. I hope she goes well. I know she's excited and she's probably going to run water for a little bit of it, but that's okay. She's good at that. But I hope she gets a game and throws some serious heat, which would be great. And to all the Meteors girls, I know I shouted out before, but hope they all do well too.
And we would love to have you on the show soon, Zoe.
Yeah, I'll work on that.
That'd be good.
I want to show.
That'd be great.
Yes, definitely.
Get on it, Zoe.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not doing anything else. Far out.
Exactly. Why not? Let's go.
My bad this week is about golf, actually. So we had Mitch on the show a few weeks ago. Victorian golfers got to go back to the golf course this week, and they were left furious because some more crazy Dan Andrews COVID restrictions came into place where all of the facilities indoors are banned. So I just don't know how you can open up a golf course and you don't open the facilities that go with the golf course. So, you pay a reasonable amount to be a member of a golf club. You pay decent amount of money to play socially. You got to open the toilets. Like, you actually can't open facilities without,
Exactly.
So look, I just think the world continues to go mad with COVID, even as we're opening. So let's hope people can play golf and go to the toilet. Like, it's simple life. Right?
Just speaking about golf, here in Canberra, we've got a stadium golf tournament coming up really soon. And I know I'm going to get my tickets. So tickets go on sale early November for a start in early December here at Canberra Stadium, and we can hit the golf balls from the seats onto the field. There is 11 holes in total. $55, I think it is. I spent all day researching this. I am excited as I've even got a few guys from work keen as. So make sure, and I'll even do an Aussies Abroad Stadium golf tour. So let's go. 3 of us.
Let's go.
So
yes,
early December 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I think it is. But we'll keep you guys informed. We'll do a special show from Canberra Stadium. Let's go.
Live. Huh?
I'm sort of part of planning this, and you know way more about it.
No. See? I was doing my research all day.
Yeah. Up working. I'm so proud.
Look, I'll join in, but I understand my own golf skills, and I'm a really good recorder in as far as golf. I'll film. I'll pay my levy, but I'll film.
I keep our facilities guys in a job because I keep breaking the chairs that I don't tell my boss.
Lovely.
My ugly this week is we've talked a lot about the Olympics on this show, and we obviously know that 2032 we're heading to Brisbane so we can try and host the next best games. The Queensland government and the federal government are in a really ugly dispute over the board of directors and sort of the management group and the organising committee that come together to run this. So much so that the federal government is considering withdrawing their $5 billion investment into the games because they're concerned that Queensland and our friend Anastasia is trying to stack it with Queensland politicians rather than, it being an even split. So what they're saying is it should be an even split between the feds and the state government. Yeah. This stuff is really close to my heart because it's stuff that I sort of deal with on a day-to-day basis. And, I think what they're saying is that the investment in the capital and all of the infrastructure that's needed is a split cost. And so then the decision-making should also be split evenly, which I do definitely agree on. I know, sensible, right? Like I don't know how I've survived in government all these years. But anyway, I'm far too transparent and black and white for this. But, I sort of thought about it. Well, who can say whether we'll actually be part of the 2032 games? Because at this point, Queensland hates us and we'll never get up to that stage. So.
And she hates all of us. Like, exactly.
Yeah. We joked this week that her and McGowan, is it, over in WA? Together because no one else is going to have them. So, So anyway, watch this space. We'll see what happens with the Olympic, and this is the thing. People actually freak out and go, it's in 2032. It's so long away. But there is just so much that goes into these huge tournaments and events. And, unless you're involved, you probably just don't know all of the background that goes into it. But all of the capital works, they basically transform an entire city around this. So that's why the lead times and the announcements of hosting is so long out. And you got to get this stuff right at the very start or it's going to be a very turbulent ride. So
look, I'm sure.
And that's why we're so lucky.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's why we're so lucky to have you, Nessa, on the pod as someone that understands that and can give everyone a little bit of inside information on what is actually required to do. As much as maybe it seems like a simple thing, it's really not that simple. So I think we really benefit from this.
Very good.
You know what? It is pretty simple. We're not curing stuff. We're just running some sports stuff.
Yeah, you're all right. You're all right.
You're all right. You can stay. We got you. All right, guys. I'm up next. My good this week is rugby league doing no scrums. So this might have passed on. This might have been over our heads the last couple of weeks, but there's a test match between England and France in the rugby league coming up on Wednesday of next week. And they've decided to play no scrums. And I looked into this and I found this very weird, but apparently the Super League over in England has been doing no scrums since June of last season due to COVID. So the reason was they don't want to have the scrum pack and everyone be so tightly packed into in together and you cough or you get sick on someone else and then COVID spreads. I thought initially it was because scrums are stupid. Because back in the day, scrums were awesome. Used to be able to push the scrum, you get the football back, whereas scrums are just a way to take your heavy dudes out of the attack. But it turns out there was a reason for it. So now they've continued in the Super League over in England to have no scrums over the last 18 months. The World Cup was the Rugby League. The World Cup was supposed to be this year, and it looked like there was going to be no scrums there either. However, Australia and New Zealand are obviously still having scrums over here. So the World Cup was moved to next year due to COVID. However, the internationals are now starting to have no scrums. So if the ball's knocked on, it gets handed over to the other team rather than you having a scrum. How do you guys feel about the movement of a football game with no scrums? Obviously, the Roosters will miss out because they're so good at being horrible humans. So, Ness, you go first.
Well, let's be real. A scrum in rugby league is
dumb. It's dumb. Yeah.
So, and you know what? I don't actually buy that it's about COVID because they are meant to be in level 4 Apollo biosecurity, you know, like the absolute creme de la crop of biosecurity measures and stuff. So they shouldn't be getting COVID because they should be all locked down completely. I don't know. I think they're using COVID as a complete excuse on this one. A scrum is nuts anyway.
The free flowing nature of the football has taken a step forward the last few seasons with the 40-20 and the 30 30 years now.
20-40,
and they're so it's not a forwards game these days. They're moving more towards the rugby 7 style. It's fast. It's so fast that everyone needs to be fit. Guys like Spud Carroll and all those guys who were huge units who would come on and just run up the guts. That's not there now. So I like the way rugby league's moving. I've said it for years. If you push a scrum, you get penalised for it, which is dumb. Back in the 80s and 90s, that was your thing, and now it's just not there.
No, I agree with you.
It's hard for me to. I'm only a little bit younger than everyone else on the pod, but I'm going to say I completely agree with the whole COVID thing being that's bullshit. You got 13 players tackling each other. If anyone, that's not a safety measurement at all. The thing that happens with scrums is, yes, we all agree in rugby league it's not a real scrum. The thing we do agree with, though, is you're now setting, I think it's like 8 people make the scrum. You now have an attacking play, which is what happens in rugby league. And that's why we want to keep the scrum, is because it creates, attacking play is what's feeding the NRL at the moment, or rugby league, sorry. Because we want to see points, we want to see creative plays put on. So getting rid of the scrum is a bad idea in my opinion, because it does create if you look into Penrith or South or Melbourne, the teams that finished high in our competition is because rugby league is trending towards attacking football. Yes, we need to defend, but defense is second to what you can do with the football at the moment. So getting the scrum is where we set ourselves up for a really creative situation. The fans love it. It's first tackle, you're on the 20-meter line, but there's a creative play. You're excited if you're supporting a good football team. Creativity is what's going to win this. It's not about back in the days, which I understand. Back in the days, you could feed it, and there was big blokes that could push, and it was a real scrum. It was rugby union scrum, and it's just not that now. And I'm the first to admit the scrum sucks. The whole scrum, you lose the feed, you get penalized. It's not a real scrum. But for what it does for the attacking team, is it creates an opportunity. Fans want to see opportunities. It creates points. Fans want to see points. The NRL is obviously going towards the offensive player in any situation wins.
Yeah.
Therefore, why would we get rid of it? It's just contradicting. I understand, and I almost support the let's have the scrum and make it a defensive scrum, and it's a fair thing. But that's just not where we're going. So if we have this, just let the scrum happen. It's an attacking situation. That's what we all want to see. We all want to see points. We all want to see with these outside backs, which are freaks at the moment. There's never been a time in rugby league history where outside backs are
so quick,
more freaky than they are now, right?
Yeah.
So we want to see that. I get some of the people that are hanging on to that. Well, back in my day, the scrum was a competition, and it was about might and strength, and I respect that, and it should be about that, but it's just not. So if we're going to stick with we're trying to create points and be creative and have it's an entertaining game if we score. Stick with the fucking scrum. It's so much chance.
I thought the very same thing. However, I did some actual research, right? And I found out only 4.8% of tries are scored from the first tackle of the scrum. So you have your scrum, if it's 20 out, 30 out, 20 out, whatever it is, only 4.8% of tries are scored from that first attack out of the scrum. So over a season, it's not that much. But I do like the fact that you take those heavy dudes out of it during the scrum, and it's more of a rugby sevens style, that first play. However, if you get tackled, it's back to normal. So
I disagree. I don't think it's back to normal. I do not think it's back to normal because you've got all your big guys that are in the scrum, we assume. But it's like for sure take the ball out of the scrum. And one of the things which is happening in the NRL, which we just saw last year, is you don't feed the ball out. You're playing for the penalty. You're playing for someone else to break the scrum before you're allowed. So it's guaranteed 2 points if they break the scrum because it's a penalty. If not, then it's a delayed thing. Yes. So maybe everything goes smoothly, but you're still left with outside backs on outside backs. And if you're a coach or if you've got a team full of outside backs which are attacking players, you got to trust your own coaching style and your own players that we have a competitive advantage here. And okay, so you get tackled on first play. Maybe you come out, you spread it out, doesn't work. Everyone doesn't know what the fuck's going on. It's still a game of let's try and sort out what's happening. And you got 2-3 tackles to try and form your defense again. And it's just, it is although you might not score that quickly off a scrum, it creates opportunity. And that's all we want for rugby league is opportunity, because points are going to decide what's going to happen in the rugby league world. That's the way we're going. I don't agree with it, but I understand it. Create opportunity for points. If you get rid of it,
you're
taking away that.
Very nice. Look,
that's my opinion. Sorry, I'm very invested.
Very good. That's good. I know you're invested in this, man. Look, my dad this week was going to be about a former Western Sydney wanderer, but I've changed it up on the fly. I'm going to talk about Fina.
No, can't deal with it.
We talked
about it. Stick to the schedule. I'm out.
Look, I'm going to talk about Fina. Fina, I'm not sure what Fina actually stands for, but it's the organisation that looks after swimming here in Australia. Fina's gone through a lot of heartache the last couple of seasons, and they've had some bad representatives of swimmers, and they've had some bad swimmers, and they've had a whole bad thing going on for years now, and there's been a lot of hatred directed towards them. And what's happening with Fina is they've organised someone new to look after them, and she is going to revamp the whole thing. The Fina name won't exist after the next 6 months. I think I'm not exactly sure what her name is, but she said by March of next year, she will wipe everything out. There is no more. You're going to try to make it a lot more open and honest. We've had a lot of coaches who have been accused of doing things that no one should ever do. A lot of doping allegations, a lot of bad things in swimming over all these years. So I think she's trying to kind of make it about Australian swimming, about the Olympics and the Com Games, and about the World Cups and that stuff, and not us focusing on the bad shit that is happening, because there's some really bad stuff happening. And look, this is not the show to sort of talk about the bad stuff happening, because we'd like to touch on the awesome things, but FINA's trying to change what they're doing and making it about swimming. So let's hope that she can sort of get these things under control and not have us talking about swimming being a bad thing over and over again. So look, I can't actually remember what her name is, because I've just worked this out right now, but I will touch on this again next week, guys. But nice things are happening in swimming coming forward. So we'll talk about that shortly, I'm sure. My ugly this week is friends of the Penrith Panthers and the Penrith Panthers as a whole, who like to take videos of their friends doing things they shouldn't be. Most of us have grown up in the 80s and 90s where video phones weren't a thing. And if they were, I'd be in a lot worse position than I am in right now.
I went to school with you.
Gosh, right. If you are out drinking with the Penrith Panthers and they're on their week-long celebration from winning the NRL Grand Final, do not get your phone out of your pocket and record your friend. That is dumb. I have photos and videos on my phone of some of my friends and myself doing some very skeptical things, and those things will never get leaked to the media. You know why? Because I'm a good friend. You know why? These things happen. I'm sure my friends have images of me doing stupid shit. Please, for the love of God, keep your phone in your pocket. What person gets joy out of ripping their friend off for $1,000 because news or the ACT, whatever it is, has said, I'll give you $1,000 for the video? No, that's not a friend. That's an asshole. You're an asshole. You know exactly who you are. Right, keep your phone in your pocket. Done.
That's exactly right. You've nailed it. And I had this chat in my boys chat with the NFL fantasy kind of thing, which is, there's things where every single one of us, if any of us got famous, it could come out and we've all said things
ruin you.
Aren't politically correct, but if you take it out of context, and that's a group of guys which are really good guys, but if you take it out of context, absolutely. Like we can all get in trouble, and I think if you're at that level of superstar, or you're making it in the sporting world, then it's gross. It's something that I'm not sure. Like you said, Spinks, if you're hanging out after you've just won an NRL Grand Final and there's someone there that's willing to record or take photos of things, you need to take it.
Exactly.
You need to have a look at yourself. You need to check yourself a bit there.
Yeah. Look, there was a young Spinks who was doing a few nasty things after he left high school, and that's for a different show, and I will share them with you guys after this show. But if those videos ever come out, actually, I'll be fine. It's fine. It's all good. Don't worry about it. All right, mate. You're up next, mate. What do you got for us? I can't share those stories. No stories.
That's all good.
All right, mate. You're up, mate. What do you got for us?
Yeah. All right, guys. For me this week, my good is 2023. We have the Redcliffe Dolphins joining the NRL season, so that's amazing. As a massive NRL fan, creates a lot more competition. I'm not sure how the season's going to go with that. I don't know how the schedule works. Yeah, go on then.
So apparently, everyone will still play 24 matches, but will have 2 weeks off. So instead of having 1 week off, we've now got 2 weeks off. So 196 games to 206 or something. So we still have the same amount of games we have.
And that's good. All we want is more competition in Brisbane.
Yeah.
I've spoken about it before that Brisbane has this. They should always be dominating. As far as Queensland should always dominate, I think. But as far as Brisbane, they should always dominate, which they have until recent years.
Oh, yeah.
They've been a bit shitty the last couple of years, and I love seeing them be shit. But it creates a lot more competition. And I'm going to touch on this later on in my own segment here. So it's good. It's great for the NRL. I think it's amazing. And I'm super excited to see it. My bad has nothing to do with what we should be talking about on this pod, which is not sports related. It's just, as far as we're all in this pandemic, we're all in this, we're staying out of, like, we can't do anything. My bad is when people ask you, your friends, family, people you don't know, have said, hey man, how you doing? Like, what's news? What's happening? Piss me the fuck off. It shits me off because I just want to end the conversation. Hey bro, how are you? What's happening? I don't know, man. Exactly the fucking same as you.
The same thing as for the last week. Nothing.
So I like the what's new. Like actually nothing for the last 8 weeks.
Nothing.
Right? What's new? I don't know. I've been traveling around Australia. I've just been not doing everything I wanted to.
Can I add to that?
Nothing is new.
Over the last couple of weeks, I've gotten what's the first thing you're going to do when you get out of lockdown? And like I know Spinks asked it earlier, and like a lot of us are saying that. But in all reality, who the hell knows what restrictions like? But now we sort of know we have a roadmap, right? But a few weeks ago, we didn't know if we were getting out. So that was a really difficult question to answer because it was like, I don't know what we're allowed to do in 3 weeks' time, guys, if we're even getting out. Yeah. So I can't agree with you.
I will be at Hopscotch from 6 to 8 o'clock on Friday night. If you guys are keen, let's go Hopscotch.
Sign me up.
Let's go.
Please. Done.
That's a good one.
Am I ugly this week? And I want everyone to hang with me here because it's kind of it's a long ugly, but I'm focusing this around the expansion team, which I touched on my good, the Redcliffe Dolphins, of what their chances are of putting together a team that can be successful. So I put this together of players that are just going to be free agents coming into the season where when they start, right? And obviously you can go into technicalities about we never know who's going to get their contract cut up. We never know who's going to make an error and they don't have a job anymore. And and that's something I can't comment on. I'm only going off of players that have a contract that is due to expire at the end of 2022.
Nice. Okay.
Thanks, you got a question.
Do you think Redcliffe retains anyone they currently have? Because obviously they've been a football team for years. There's obviously got to be a guy or two that Redcliffe can take through. But obviously you are focusing on free agents next year.
I'm focusing on absolutely, yes, they're going to have talent, but youth and my team isn't revolved around youth. And I'm the first to admit that for me personally, and it doesn't mean I'm right or wrong, I'm just trying to put a squad together that can compete.
Right,
so the Titans put together
you need a whiteboard. I feel like you need a
whiteboard. Right up on the wall there.
Oh my goodness. I would love to.
You love a whiteboard. Get the middle
because
one.
you should all see my notes around the players I've put together here.
Right.
There's so many players, and I think Cam Munster is the one that's leading the.
Ooh.
He's the perfect player to start a new franchise with. He has a contract, and there's so many things that Kalen Ponga, as a Newcastle supporter, Kalen Ponga is probably the number one person you want to start a franchise with.
Yeah.
I can't put him in my team. One, because I love him so dearly, and also because it just doesn't fit in the criteria that I'm trying to go with. All right. So here's my team. I'm going to go backs through to forwards.
Right.
So the guys off contract, we're going to start with fullback. The guys off contract at fullback is Gutho, Alex Johnson, Joey Manu, and Matt Duffy.
You're not taking Manu. You're not taking Manu.
But Matt Duffy, your mate from Parramatta, Gutho, he wants out of Parramatta, so he will not sign on again because he doesn't like the coach
Brad Arthur.
Yeah, Arthur. So he's your fullback. That's very nice. Yeah.
You will not find someone that hates Gutho more than me. Yeah. I don't think he's a superstar. I don't think he gets more credit than he deserves. And obviously love Joey Manu, and I'm the only person on earth that thinks Matt Duffy is a great fullback. But in these circumstances, for me, at fullback, I'm locking in Gutho.
Okay.
It's rude if you don't.
Good choice.
I got to take my own personal opinion of the bloke out of it. That's a marquee player to everyone else. Gutho, fullback. All right, so our wingers. This is my decision out of who we got to go through. So we got Herbie Farnsworth, Jermaine Asako, Paul Momorowski, Alex Johnson, The Source, Josh Mansour, Jack Bird, or Joey Manu. So I'm trying to decide Joey Manu. A couple of these guys can play both positions, as in center or wing. In this instance, I'm locking in Alex Johnson and Jermaine Asako. Everyone is going to hate me. Everyone's going to hate me for choosing Jermaine Asako. He is the definition of 6 off sticks. He can give you a great game of football, or he can ruin your team. Supreme athlete, can kick goals, which I need to focus on who can kick goals in this team, which is kind of important. And if you've seen the lad, he is a fit weapon. So I'm going to take Asako for what he can possibly do, and I'm taking Alex Johnson also kind of what he can possibly do. But we all know that.
Yeah, it's good. Look,
superstar.
There once was a man named Jack who was with the Sharks, almost won a comp. Thought he was too big for the Sharks, went on to Brisbane, got super fat, and then joined the Dragons, right? And has done nothing ever since. Jack Bird, you suck and you know it, right? Ring me, you suck. You're a terrible human. You're a terrible footballer, and you will not be in the Redcliffe Dolphins. You crack. Yeah.
I've got Jack Bird here as a possible fullback, center wing, and back rower because he didn't make the squad. So right now we got Gutho, we got Asako, we got Alex Johnson. Moving into the centers, and for me, this is done. I've got lists of everyone that's available and guys that I thought could or couldn't make it. Center wing is done and dusted. For me, it's Joey Manu and Paul Momorowski. Joey Manu. Nice. Joey Manu is, for me, a B grade Tommy Turbo. You can put him anywhere, and that's kind of where the NRL is going, I think, is the center, play him at the back of, I was touching on the scrum. Put him anywhere you want, and you have an advantage. An amazing fullback, and potentially can fight Gutho. I would prefer him at fullback than Gutho, but that's my personal opinion where I can't make this too much about myself. I know I'd have Manu there, but there's no way Joey Manu is not making this team if he can. So we got Manu, Paul Momorowski, which is, unless you're really watching the NRL, that's just a guy, but he's kind of proven. He lost his job in the Penrith team to some other guys, but supreme talent, does his job, vanilla guy. And this whole entire team is going to focus on guys that are boring and just do their job, and guys that provide strike, guys that provide leadership.
Good.
This whole team isn't just leadership. So sorry, I'm already going over time because I don't want to drag this on too much.
Take it on. Let's go.
5'8". So in the 5'8", my competition is Cody Walker or Adam Kieran. Adam Kieran is a guy which elite. Like he can play any position and he's proven it. He's done his job. I think I would love to sign him as a Newcastle Knight fan, just to play wherever the hell we can get him in there, because he's proven that he can play any single position. But you have Cody Walker, who at this stage, who's a better 5'8" than Cody Walker. There's maybe two better 5'8". So it's rude if you don't sign Cody Walker, and Adam Kieran just misses out because unlucky. My half, and this is going to be my most controversial pick in this entire team, especially because I'm a Newcastle fan and I don't like the guy. My half, I'm going Mitchell Pearce.
Oh, shit. What?
Yeah.
Mitchell Pearce.
So, yeah, don't like him. Not a great football player at all. But in this squad, which I'm putting together, no one has played together. And your half is your quarterback in the NRL, which is you just want a guy that does his job.
You need your old head. You need your old head.
You need an old head. You need a veteran. You need a guy
that's your boy.
Corners.
That's your boy.
He's not going to win you the game.
No, he's not.
Just the same that I love Luke Brooks, the same that I love Mitch Moses. You do have to have a 7 or someone that can control this team, just to control the team.
Yeah.
Get yourself going. You can't score on every play. That's something everyone needs to understand. Take Mitchell Pearce. He's not going to win you games, but he's going to keep your team in the competition. And I don't like the guy. Don't get me wrong.
Did you have anyone else up against him? Because I understand your choice because he's got an old head and that's a smart move. Was there someone else?
Honestly, my other options were players which were like, let me find it. I had Cooper Johns.
Ooh.
If you want to
start young.
And that's relying on your bloodline more than what he's done.
Yeah.
Right. I had Milford, I had Nicarima.
Ooh,
I had guys that are they're halves, but I'm going to touch on those two guys a bit later on. I think just for this team, you need a guy that controls the game, doesn't do anything special.
Yeah.
Not a great player, but does his job. All right. Moving on from half. I'm going to hooker. So I'm going to the 9. So my choices here is Josh Hodgson, which I love as a Canberra fan.
I do not like
great. Just like Mitchell Pearce, kind of does his job. It gets yourself in good positions, but he's not going to win your ball games. I got Reed Miney, I got Appy Coruscant, I got Tom Starling, and I got Blake Brayley.
Appy Coruscant.
Absolutely not. Reed Miney. This is a guy that
Blake Brayley's your man, though.
Absolutely not. Blake Brayley, if you're going to go into details, is the most likely to get out of his contract. Because there's Cameron McInnes coming in there to play. But Reed Miney just proved last year he made State of Origin. Was probably maybe the second most informed hooker. So if you can get Reed Miney, you're starting a new franchise, knows what he's doing, you're controlling the rock there. Reed Miney is the guy you want. I'm really, really happy with taking that pick. Moving on to the forwards. So we'll go to the front row. This is what I was tossing up in the front row, which, again, just are off contract at this year. Corey Harsborough, Suisa Takehaho, James Tarnell, Christian Welsh. I did well with that. Huh? Christian Welsh, Jesse Bramian, Marty Tapau, Junior Paulo, and Cohen Hess. Cohen Hess is a guy which anyone in the NRL understands hasn't been good. I like him as a front row. He's moved from the back row. But in this instance, I am taking Christian Welsh and Junior Paulo. You've got the two, they led the league in offloads, right? And that's where we're going with attacking football is you need to be able to offload. You got Junior Paulo's 130 kilograms, can ball play, which is the most impressive thing you need to do in the NRL is to be able to ball play. You need to create opportunities, and it's really, really difficult to find that in the front row. And unfortunately, I won't go into too much, but the lock at the moment in the NRL is the thing that's part of your spine. I think at the moment is your 13 is just as important as your 6, 7, 1, and 9.
Yeah.
And my team doesn't have a great 13, so I need to make up for that. So I'm putting Junior Paulo, I'm putting Christian Welsh, who is vanilla as they come. Doesn't look like an athlete, but does his job. The back row. Now, the back row is the hardest position to pick. We are stacked. We're stacked in all kind of NRL. We're stacked in Origin. We're stacked in the guys that are available here. It's absolutely stacked. And I'll read you out some of the names. So we got CHN. We got Corey Harawira and Nair. We got TKO. So we got Luciano Leilua. We got Britton Nakora. We got Wade Graham, who I'd love to go into a
No, you will not. No, you will not take Wade Graham. No.
Yeah, we got Ryan Madison. We got Isaiah Papali'i, and we got Kickout.
Yep.
So Wade Graham, I think if you're going to start a franchise, Wade Graham is one of the first people you want. You've got a back row with a head on in, a left foot kick. You've got everything you ever need. For me, doesn't make the team just because of how stacked we are.
Thank
Wade
you.
Graham could
Thank
in
you.
the team.
No, we will keep him at the Sharks. Okay, keep him. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you should. Because amazing talent and something we just don't have anymore. But for me personally, I hate Parramatta, but I'm going Ryan Madison and I'm going Papali'i because Madison, amazing talent, stupid. Just look at the guy's rig; he's amazing. And then you got Papali'i. Nice. And then you got Papali'i, who just won the most improved player in the NRL over the last year, which, like I touched on before, I don't have a lock. So now I've got to create a lock out of some of these guys, which means maybe it's Luciano Leilua, maybe it's Wade Graham, maybe it's Kickow. I don't like Kickow being on the field very much. He's an overrated player to me, but I have to make a decision between all of those guys, and I haven't made that decision. That's up to the coach. Sorry.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful.
And then anyway, we've got the bench. I've decided on Josh Starling, who plays the bench for Canberra Raiders, which brings in. It was between Starling, Milford, or. Starling, Milford, or Nikorima. Because that's what you need in the NRL. You need a guy that can come off the bench and just be creative. A Connor Watson kind of player. So I've gone with Josh Starling, my bench, Tapau and TKO, and then I've got Kickow on my bench. So there's a lot of guys that missed out there. I think the worst is Adam Kieran that missed out because he's proven he can play in the halves, the centers. He could play the back row, great goal kicker. But it's just with all this talent, and again, this is only off of who's off contract. Yeah, players will get extended and that kind of thing. Sorry that took a little while. It's just something that I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed putting this thing together.
Who's your captain?
I guess that's the same thing. Yeah. Who's your captain? Who's your leader?
You can't actually give Mitchell Pearce captaincy. Well, and that's kind
I'm not going to lie. I'm leaning to Mitchell Pearce as to be your captain.
You need and I understand you need an old head, but you need someone who's.
I don't want Gutho being the captain, the guy that just does his fucking job.
You know what? If you take Josh Hodgson, that's who you'd put in.
Agreed. Yep, agreed.
Sure, yeah.
Agreed. But what we haven't in this instance, and I don't want to read Marnie.
So for
maybe
all the folks,
one of the front rollers, I guess, like it's something boring like Christian Welsh. That is, it's a boring, but he understands the fight and the dog that's involved. I don't want to flash you just because you're a great footballer to be a captain, and that's just not how sports works. I'm the most talented player on the team, therefore I'm the captain. Doesn't work like that so much. It's Mitchell Pearce, Christian Welsh. It's a boring captain. I'm probably going with the lame ass. There's 2 captains, 3 captains in the team.
3 captains, yeah,
which
you forwards and backs,
NRL
captains.
at the
Yeah.
moment.
Are you?
Yeah.
Are you able just for last time to run through your 1 through 17, and the folks at home can actually tell us if that team will win a game at all?
They'll win again. I'll run through the 1 to 17.
Let's
All
go.
right. So at 1, we got Clint Gutherson.
Hmm.
The wingers, we have Jermaine Asako, Alice Johnson.
Hmm.
Centers, Joey Manu, Paul Momirovski. 5'8".
Beautiful.
We've got
Yeah, more.
it 5'8". Sorry. Walker. Sorry.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
So we got Walker at 5'8", Mitchell Pearce at 7. That's going to create some controversy. At hooker, I'm taking Reed Marnie. Moving to the front row, we're going Christian Welsh and Junior Paulo. Anyone wants to argue with me on that, then I'm fine. The back row, we're going the Parramatta back row, which is Ryan Madison and Isaiah Papali'i. The lock, we haven't decided. So the lock is going to be probably one of these back rowers here, but we don't have a natural lock. So that's where I admit I'm kind of wrong. The bench, I'm going Tommy Starling. I'm also happy to have Nicarima or Milford. Not that they've been great, but I just want that kind of playmaker there that can come in. And then we got 2 back rowers here. So we got Marty Tapau and TKO, which is Sosai Takiaho, who can also goal kick, which is great. And then we have Tapau, which I'm not a great fan of, but ball in hand, he can win you games. For the size of the human being and his athleticism, I don't like him at all. I think he makes mistakes and he's not a great football player, but what he can produce for you, I'll roll the dice.
Beautiful.
So that's my 1 to 17.
That is fantastic.
Some excellent analysis. You need to just submit that to the NRL and see how we go.
Right now, yes.
They'll tell me to fuck off. Sorry that took so long.
So much research.
Each of those contracts, Bo, and there you go. You could be an agent.
That's fantastic.
Done.
Very nice, mate.
Sign
Thank
me
you
up for
very
the
much. That is incredible. Thank you for all
Well
your
done.
research and your hard work, man. Very nice. That's brilliant. Look, I'm sure if you guys want to comment on the show and tell him how awesome his lineup is or how horrible it is, feel free to come on and share that with us. Look, there's a few
Share
things.
opinions. I'll get into a super aggressive argument, which I shouldn't be doing, but I love a good chat about footy.
I'm
so
sure
let's
it
go.
does. Let's go. Right, coming up this week, we have college game, the NFL. The Socceroos have a match next week. As we spoke about earlier, the cricket is taken off over here. The weather is warming up, and we finally get to have haircuts. The 2 of us, actually the 3 of us need a haircut. The 3 of us need a haircut. Look, it's getting out of control. Look at it. So the 3 of us are finally looking forward to haircuts.
Ness, you're getting
in 2 days'
split
time.
ends. Your hair looks awful.
You're so right. I need a colour more than a cut, but anyway.
Very nice. Right, if you guys haven't seen it,
I'm going bald, don't worry.
Bo's going board. If you guys haven't seen it already, please have a look at the interview that we did last night with Lucas Big Daddy Brown. He was shirtless through the whole thing. The man is ripped. He is tattooed up, and he was fantastic. So if you guys haven't seen it, tune into that interview because it was great. So thank you very much. And also thank you to all of you who have watched our show for this entire time, 13 episodes. Thank you to all of you, and we'll see you guys next week. Hooroo.
See you guys.
Or Shane Warne. And he's done it.
would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the lands on which we meet today and pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. We extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people listening in